The fact that it is the second highest pre-sale in boxing history now in the Madison Square Garden, this is absolutely huge. So we are breaking down barriers, and it proves that there is a strong appetite for big fights in female boxing. This is the fight that I've always wanted for it, and since the turn pro actually.
Hello and welcome to a Boxing Insider special. Delighted to be joined by Katie Taylor. Katie, just how good are you feeling that this fight against Amanda Serrano is now happening?
Yeah, I mean, this is the fight that I've always wanted for it, and since the turn pro actually, and I just can't believe it's happening. I was obviously scheduled, say, a couple of years ago, and I fell through it numerous times. So we're actually here now, and really, pinched myself that it's actually happening. The biggest fight in female boxing history, and this is the one I've always wanted.
And you're on this press tour at the moment. What's it been like having so much time with Amanda heading into the biggest fight of your career?
Yeah, it's definitely been a busy few days, that's for sure, but it's part and parcel being involved in a big mega fight. I haven't had much interaction with Amanda, obviously, just from the press conferences here and there, but it's great to be able to look her in the eye and see her face to face for the first time. And yeah, we're obviously both very excited about it.
And the ticket sales already are incredible. I think second highest in pre-sale history when it comes to Madison Square Garden. So there's certainly an audience for what is going to be a huge event this year.
Oh, it's incredible. That means that this fight is even more important than we even realise. And not only is it breaking the ceiling for female purses, and not only is it the first female headliner in MSG, but it proves that there is a strong appetite for big fights in female boxing, and it proves that perceptions have changed, and boxing is boxing regardless, and that is everything to me, and that's all that my career has done over these last few years. Well, then all the hard days in the gym have been worth it.
You spoke before, and you've spoken many times about wanting to break down barriers when it comes to women's boxing. Do you feel like this is almost the final barrier to break?
Yeah, I mean, I think we still have a long way to go, in other areas as well, but this is definitely a huge deal to be the first headliner in MSG, to break the barrier, like guarantee a 7-figure deal with this as well, with regards to the purse, which is fantastic, and just the fact that it is the second highest pre-sale in boxing history now in the Madison Square Garden. This is absolutely huge. So we are breaking down barriers. We are definitely making great ground, and we have to just keep breaking the ground continuously.
What do you think's left to do when it comes to women's boxing? What else do you think it needs now to get that extra push? How big is this fight when it comes to doing that?
Yeah, I mean, this fight is definitely the biggest fight in the sport. I feel like it's genuinely the most exciting fight in boxing right now. It genuinely is a 50-50 fight. It's a fight that people have been excited about for years now, but we need to have, I guess, consistent big fights like this, and it's great to see that Savannah Marshall is going to be fighting Clarissa Shields as well. That's a huge fight in the women's game. Fights like that are obviously going to push the sport even more.
Where do you feel like you're at the moment? 2021 was a really successful year for you when you look at the results. Do you feel like you're still improving? Do you feel like you're on the way down, which some people have suggested, not me?
Yeah. But
do you feel like you're slowing down, or do you feel like you're actually potentially getting better now with the experience you're building?
Yeah, no, I definitely don't feel like I'm slowing down in any way. I don't know what people are talking about really, but yeah, I mean, I definitely feel like I am improving from year to year. The last year was a very successful year, but obviously it wasn't the big fights last year that I actually wanted. It was tough at times to push myself in training when you haven't got that big fight in mind. But this is obviously very different, and people are going to see the absolute best of me on April the 30th, and I just can't wait to show that.
Do you think that's what you need, a challenge like Amanda to show your best off?
Yeah, completely. I think the best opponents always bring out the best in me, and that's always been the case with me. And I've shown that before in the past in these big mega fights, and I just can't wait to step in there now on April the 30th, headline in Madison Square Garden, the biggest fight in female boxing history. These are the kind of fights that absolutely excite me.
You're obviously laser focused on the 30th of April, but what happens after that, do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. I just take it one fight at a time, honestly, but there's definitely no shortage of big fights out there for me. But my focus is obviously on April the 30th, and I can't overlook this opponent.
How big do you think that fight is between Clarissa Shields and Savannah Marshall? I spoke to Savannah last week and she said, no, this fight's much bigger. It's bigger than Taylor v Serrano. But, I mean, it's great that we're having this conversation all together, I guess.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely, it's fantastic. And two outstanding fighters as well, and Savannah Marshall and Clarissa Shields. These are the fights that absolutely women's boxing actually needs. Super exciting fight. I can't wait to see that fight myself. Savannah was obviously the only person to have ever beaten Clarissa, so it's very, very interesting. And Savannah has a huge, huge punch. Clarissa is super skillful, so it's an interesting matchup, and yeah, I can't wait to see it.
Is there disappointment that it's still probably going to be 2-minute rounds at this stage? But how much you wanting it to be 3 minutes rounds? And for those that don't necessarily understand, why is it important for you that we do maybe have parity when it comes to men's boxing in terms of the length of the rounds?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really think that the 2-minute rounds are 3 minutes. I think there's pros and cons to each, to be quite honest. I think the 2-minute rounds definitely cause a fast pace. It's nearly like a sprint. Each round is very, very exciting. In comparison to a 3-minute round where it can go by a bit slow at times, but I definitely do think that you could possibly see more knockouts in the 3-minute round, but I think the 2-minute rounds do make for a very, very, very exciting fight. So I don't know what the right answer is in terms of whether we should be going to 3-minute rounds or not. I think there are pros and cons to each.
Do you think you've got the power to knock out Amanda Serrano?
I think I definitely do have power. I think she has power as well, and that's one of the things that makes this fight very, very exciting.
There's real respect between you two, which maybe you don't get in the men's game, because maybe you both respect the journeys that you've been on and the pathways that you've been on over the last 20 years or so.
Yeah, I mean, I have respect for every single opponent that I step into the ring with. I'm not one for trash talk and never have been, so I'm not going to start now. But yeah, I have the utmost respect for her, but I obviously, when I step into the ring, I'm going to do whatever it takes to win the fight. I genuinely believe that I am going to win the fight, and I have all the tools to make it a convincing win.
Religion is so important for you, isn't it? How much does that help you with boxing?
Yeah, I think my faith, my Christianity is probably one of the most important things in my life. It is the most important thing to me, and it not only has helped with everyday life, but definitely in terms of boxing and even the mental side of things. It's known that I'm not in it alone, knowing that I have a fantastic God and an amazing God who's stepping into the ring with me. That obviously helps a lot. And yeah, it's definitely the most important thing in my life.
I think you've spoken before about even now, despite what you've achieved in boxing, you still get really nervous before you step in the ring. So how much does praying before stepping in the ring help you from a mental point of view as well?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely reassures me. That's for sure. I think it is very, very normal for every single fighter to get nervous before the fights. I think if you weren't getting nervous, there's something wrong, and you're probably a maniac or a psychopath if you aren't actually getting nervous before these fights. But yeah, it definitely is very, very reassuring, and obviously reading scripture before fights is one of my main parts of preparation as well. Psalm 18 is the psalm that's on my boxing gear. That's been my go-to psalm since I was a kid. And every single time I read that, it just still gives me goosebumps to say, you know, it is God who arms you with strength. He makes my way perfect. He makes my feet like the feet of a deer. He trains my hands for battle. My arms can bend a bow of bronze. You give me your shield of victory, and you stoop down to make me great. And that's just a powerful, powerful scripture. And that idea, that notion that God can actually stoop down to make you great, and I think that's absolutely fantastic.
One thing that was really important for you when you were growing up was football as well.
Yeah.
What are your first memories of lacing up the boots and playing?
Yeah, absolutely loved it. That was obviously a huge part of my life as well. The football days. I grew up as a Leeds United fan, and it's obviously very, very strange to not be supporting one of the big teams. But my dad was a Leeds man, and we just grew up supporting Leeds and watching their games. And some of my best memories as a kid was actually going to some of the Leeds United games. But mind you, Keane is my idol, so I probably lost a few Leeds supporters there. But it was a huge, huge part of my life.
Why did you like Roy Keane so much? What was it about him?
Well, obviously the fact that he's an Irish athlete, and he's winning mentality. He's just he's a no nonsense person, and he's a guy who just never settled for second best. And even still to this day, I think he's still like that. I love that about him. He's there to win, and nothing else will satisfy him.
What was your proudest moment in football? I think there's a story that you scored 4 goals in one half, and the coach took you off, if I'm right.
Gosh, I can't remember that. That's if that's the case. Happy days. I can't. I mean, I obviously had some great memories. Some of my best friends have actually come from the football days. Obviously representing my country in under 17s level, under 19s level, and senior level as well were proud moments for me. The first time I actually debuted for the international team was obviously a very special moment for me. That's something that I obviously worked hard for. Just putting on that green jersey and representing my country has always been, whether it's in boxing or football, has always been so special to me, and that's definitely the highlight of my football career.
Are you still able to catch any football? I know you're extremely busy.
Yeah.
Do you still follow Leeds, obviously in the Premier League and doing pretty well at the moment?
Yeah, I definitely still keep up to date with what's going on. I don't tend to watch as much as I used to, obviously, and the fact that I'm living in America now as well, it makes it a bit harder to actually watch the games. But I definitely still keep up to date, and I'm still obviously a huge fan.
And finally, coming back to the 30th of April. How proud a moment would it be? How would it compare to becoming Olympic champion, to all the incredible things you'd be able to do in this sport if you were to win on the 30th of April?
I think this could possibly be the biggest night in my career. I think everything else I've done, I think will pale in comparison to what April the 30th will actually mean to me. We're making history in every way. The female purses, the first female headliner in MSG, it is being dubbed as the biggest fight in female boxing history, and I think the winner of this will be determined as the number 1 pound for pound female boxer in the world as well. So there's a lot on the line on April the 30th, and I just can't wait for it.